So let's try this out. Story of wine in Sicily. Or story of Sicilian wine, sorry. Just like getting used to technology and stuff. So if you look at the wine story, just on like Wikipedia there, you will see that if you go down to history here, boom, the earliest known traces of wine are from Georgia, 6000 BCE, so that's like 8,000 years ago. Iran, 5,000. Armenia, 4100. That's a new one they snuck in recently. And then here you go. Here's Sicily, 4000 BC, so that's like 6,000 years ago. Now, why is this important? Because if you look at the areas here, Georgia, Iran, Armenia, and Sicily, I mean, not to offend anybody, but I never really heard of Georgia or Iran or Armenia as being wine producing area. So instead of beating around the bush, let's talk spade a spade. They didn't really continue making wine there, obviously, maybe because it wasn't good. So because you found that throughout the story of that area of the world, the Sicilian wines, the Italian wine story is the one that comes out. They all fought for that island. The Greeks, Magna Graecia, like mainland Greece, is the name of Sicily. Like the whole story was there, and that was about 700 BC when the Greeks showed up. So everybody kind of fought over this island, obviously because agriculture was the only commodity back then. Like you used boats to get around and horses and buggies. There wasn't fuel costs and all that. So it was the people traded with goods, and especially the people in the Mediterranean. I mean, it's just flourishing with so much goodness. If you haven't visited the Mediterranean and seen the agriculture, then you wouldn't really understand. But I mean, Sicily is a garden in many cases. So just to find information about Sicilian wine, you're unable to find it, but you do find a little bit of something in the Italian wine area here. And if you go down, you go to history, like where it'll even say Italy has been illuminated, research, Phoenician, but they don't say where. Italy's viticulture methods. Then you go into history. Vines have been cultivated, blah, blah, blah. And then if you sneak in here, viticulture, you finally see the word Sicily, but then you don't see it again. And that's where all the vineyards were up until 200 years ago or 300 or whatever. So now I'm going to make everybody mad in Italy. We've basically been canceled out of the story because, I mean, Sicilian people are not so popular to Italian people. Let's call it how it is. So if we look at the island of Sicily, we're talking about, we've just reduced it, right? So the story of wine 6,000 years ago, the Sicilian wine story starts 4,000 BC, but it's the only one that really matters in the wine story of the history of wine, because it was just a few hundred years ago that you hear about all these other new regions. Like, let's call facts what they are. Nobody is producing today that was producing that long ago. Okay, so the red grapes, because in the depictions they're mostly red. They didn't start with depictions of white wines until much later on in the story. Don't get mad at me. So basically, I'm in the grape growing business. My family history is the grape growing business. Our family vineyards are in this neighborhood of Sicily. So like all this, like these areas here, Granelli's like a beach that I hang out with. I kind of got carried away. But as you can see, there are wineries there also. These don't represent the history of wine because their winemaking methods are not the historical ones. Nobody really did that other than me and my cousins. But everybody got like kind of hopefully they're copycats, because they are generally. So hopefully they copy making it the old way, because the old way made some ridiculous wines. So here we are, this area. So basically from this natural reserve, which makes awesome grapes, like unreal, around this line here, if you just follow that line down to this Granelli Beach here. And that's where the red wines historically came from. Okay, na 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 na. So of all the island, so you're talking about the story of red grapes is like where my family's from. And I just met a smoking hot girl from this town right here, Castellammare del Golfo, and she's just unreal. But this area here, Alcamo, Castellammare, but mostly like Trapani, all these areas here, these are the areas where the white wine began. So unfortunately, you're not going to see too much information as long as Italy, the north and the south of Italy continue to be separated. I'm sure people have talked about it, but it's worse than you think because there's not even the story of Sicily here. So see you around, buds. And I think it just has a lot to do with jealousy because, like obviously look at Sicily. This is the history. There's the Greek temples, Stromboli, Ortigia. That's where I lived. Like that's the island where I lived. So anyway, I hope I didn't make too many enemies. How do I stop recording?